A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin is hands down one of my favorite books of all time. I had known about the book and series for a while, but had never really given it a chance because it just isn't that popular in mainstream culture. As a kid and teen, I spent more time reading what was popular at the time, which was Harry Potter. I also focused on books that had already been made famous by film and TV, such as Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. None of my friends had ever read or heard anything of the Earthsea series, and the only other media set in the world are a Studio Ghibli film and a terrible sci-fi channel miniseries. It wasn't until I was older that I decided to give the first book of the series, A Wizard of Earthsea, a chance. The story follows the character Ged as he moves from youthful rashness and competitive behavior towards adulthood and level-headedness. He learns what his place is in the world and how he should act. Most of this is driven by Ged trying to rid himself of a self-inflicted curse and specter that follows him. This curse is caused by a spell that Ged casts, creating a shadow of darkness that is always hunting him. Ged's story is centrally themed around the idea of balance. Balance is important to the Earthsea world, and this point is what attracts me to the story. The spell Ged casts creates an imbalance in the world, and this imbalance needs to be corrected. Ged's journey is not only about him learning to fix the imbalance he caused in the world, but also the imbalance he caused within himself. While I only have a surface knowledge of the ancient Chinese philosophy of Taoism, I can see its principles in Le Guin's story. David Mitchell, in an article for The Guardian, points out that magic as practiced by Ged in the Rogue School of Wizardry is a branch of ethics. Nature, the elements, and man are balanced in an equilibrium which, Gaia theory-like, is a holistic organism, and one part of it cannot be changed without influencing another part. The principle of balance in the world and in the self, as well as the idea of action through non-action, are present throughout the book. One of the basic concepts of Taoism is that time and nature will run their course with or without human intervention. Excessive action and meddling will only cause imbalance. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. Try to hold it, and you will lose it. Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu and Taoist philosophy permeate the story of Ged and the wider cycle of the Earthsea novels. Good and evil are not opposing camps in the world of Earthsea, and neither is light and dark. For Lao Tzu and Le Guin, both good and evil and light and dark are parts of a whole, two sides of a coin and pieces of a puzzle. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. In Le Guin's story, every action, especially regarding magic, has a consequence. Ged learns this quickly after reaching out to the darkness. Ged's actions bring about the nameless shadow, a creature that only brings destruction. In order to remove this creature, Ged learns how to properly utilize the basis of magic in the world of Earthsea, which is to use its true name. In Earthsea, calling something by its true name gives the wizard or sorcerer power to control that thing. This allows wizards to command animals, rocks, plants, the wind, and the water. The power of names comes from the creation story of Earthsea, where Sagoi raised the land, wind, and waters by naming them in the true speech. This idea is similar to Taoist thought. Yinyi Huang and Hongbin Dai, researchers at Xiamen University, summarize, "The original state of the universe happens to be an unnamed or nameless one, meaning that all things cannot be addressed directly with their present names. The universe at the beginning of time thus finds itself in disorder and chaos. Name, which is constantly and dynamically changing, becomes the origin of all existence by reflecting the essential attribution of everything. Naming, the process that forges the most effective and efficient bond between people and the external world, showers people with a relatively profound and comprehensive understanding of being, and in consequence transform the primitive chaotic status into a meaningful civilization of regulations, legislations, and organizations. Therefore, it is through the naming process and names that human beings start to reach out for the universe and to comprehend the being." In Le Guin's story, we can see that, like in Taoism, the current state of nature and humanity exists through the relationship between names, naming, and being named. If we take a moment and think, we can just see how powerful language and names are in our daily lives. People who know your name can tell you what to do or where to go. If they don't know your name, they can still label you according to demographics, essentially confining you to an idea of a person instead of seeing you as your own being. Huang and Dai point out that true name is the reflection of the real essence of existence, the real nature of life, and the real self of people. In the universe, few but true name can be found as something eternal, being the only infinite and everlasting absolute that never fades away with the passage of time. And in the world and stories of Earthsea, true names are the basis of creation and the power to not only shape the world but to shape the self. Ged's journey to adulthood is not just a physical process of aging. There are many adults who are no wiser or smarter than children. Ged's story is one of self-realization and acceptance. This inner journey is one that is aligned with the principles of Taoism. Ged's physical journey was merely the path between 2 points. What is more important is the real way, which is the way leading inwardly. The exploration of the self and the emotional and mental journey that entails is more important to Ged's character development than just the physical movement between 2 points on a map. Taoist principles permeate the storytelling of A Wizard of Earthsea. The journey of Ged is one that gives a philosophically Eastern approach to a Western setting. This story was truly ahead of its time. A brown-skinned protagonist, Eastern philosophy, and a character-driven story set it apart from many fantasy novels of the 20th century. I truly love this book because of its exploration of Taoist thought and because of its vibrant world. A Wizard of Earthsea and its sequels are essential books for the modern reader.